it. So I've spoken at the first and the second, and a minute. And this is the third version that we are speaking on. Of course, we have to talk money, whether we are doing research or anything. Ultimately, we have to do our budget and our financial planning. And the topic that was given to me, or what I was asked to do, was find the funders. What are the funding bodies? I would like to modify the topic slightly, and I would say that instead of the first thing that I would like to put across is that instead of looking at the funders, we have to see how we can find the funds. That can be done not necessarily by only getting grants, but also how we can generate funds for ourselves by doing simple, small things that we can do right from the inception stage. So overall, what I am really going to speak on is the financial prudence in dental research, which actually means only four main things. First is whenever we start a research project, we should project the real costs. We have to do a very accurate assessment of what is the kind of financial involvement that we are looking at. When we start with our protocols and our research questions, of course, we all have a lot of questions in mind. We are very enthusiastic as first year postgraduate student. My entire lecture is mainly for that first year postgraduates who are looking at their topics. So it is very important to have that enthusiasm and that curiosity. At the same time, you have to accurately project what will be the cost that will be involved in your research project. And for that, you can leverage not only from external. First, you look from all the resources from internal to external, which I will explain through the course of this presentation, how to adhere to the budget that you planned, and then financial ethics, which basically means that you have to execute the utilization of the grant in an ethical way once you receive it. The entire presentation I will basically divide into these three sections. What are the main financial expenses? How we can do financial prudence, do small things, A, B, C, D of finding funds for ourselves. And then, of course, what are the various extramural grants that are available and infrastructure, which I have spoken about. I cannot speak enough on it. There is so much that is there and we can leverage. So first thing is, what are the major financial expenses when we start planning a research? Since dentistry is both a biological and a mechanical field, we mainly land up spending in our research on the various materials that we are using in the clinical practice, because that's exactly one of the main study groups that we test on. Then we need various types of sample testing and analysis methodology, and each thing, whether it is a simple micro CT scan or a CLSM, all of it per sample will involve some cost. So whenever you start, this is a second type of cost that you have to calculate in your budget. How many sample size you need as per your calculation, and then what will be the cost per sample for the kind of testing that you're planning. And then, of course, third type of cost, which a lot of us add to our researches when we look for research doing outside the area where we are. So that will also add a lot of travel cost. Now, how is it that we can do simple steps and we can reduce these research expenses? As in the previous sessions, I can't find a more easier way than to divide it into A, B, C, and D of making it more prudent for ourselves when we are planning it. First and foremost, the A is to focus on the available resources that we have when we start off. So, what is the most available resource that you have when you start your research? That is, of course, your own institute. So, many times, if you are posted on the third floor or the endodontics department, many times our students don't even know what are the resources that are available in the department itself. So first take a round and do an induction training on what are the resources that are available in your department. Then go into different floors of your institute and see every department, whether it is oral pathology, oral microbiology, prosthodontics, all of them would have some or the other research infrastructure which you can leverage on in your research. So be aware of your available resources, which will be the research infrastructure available to it, which you can plan intra-department or interdepartmental. And then your institute will also have MOUs and tie-ups with other technical institutes or other medical institutes, So aware yourself about these available resources. This is the first thing that you have to tap on as a first year postgraduate when you're planning your protocols. For example, these are some of the resources that as an endodontist, which we can leverage. We have a basic microbiological lab, the immunohistochemistry, PCR labs. So if we plan a basic sciences research, we have a lot of it. This is other than the prosthodontics, dental material, mechanical testing lab. So take a round in your department and in your institute and check what are the available resources. And your faculty can help in telling you which are the MOUs or collaborations that you have. Now, B of ABCD is be local. Of course, when we start, we get to know a lot of references. Sitting in Chennai, we may come to know of a very good lab, which is in Delhi, or vice versa. It's a very glamorous idea to begin with, but believe me, when you do collaborations outside the city, it is not as easy because you have to. It's not a one-time travel. You have to do a collaborative work continuously, so that adds a lot to your cost. And not only the cost, it can also impact your research because coordination is not that easy when the co-researcher is not in the same town. And completely you will have to outsource at one time, which will again increase your cost. So now, thankfully, we have very good infrastructure in almost all parts of India. So your first preference should be to plan locally. Go and visit other institutes of your city, see what kind of work they are, see what are their focus areas, and accordingly you can plan your research support. Third is, of course, the key to any research, whether you're doing a product development, whether you're doing basic research, clinical research, there is nothing that I can do autonomously. You have to collaborate. Collaboration is the key for success. So you can collaborate at various levels. Firstly, you can collaborate, as I said, with other departments in your institute. You can do interdepartmental research with allied subjects like prosthodontics, periodontics. You can do clinical research with these departments. Then you can collaborate with basic sciences research departments in which you can use their technologies for clinical research or clinical relevant research. Then your neighboring technical institutes and government bodies like CSIR, ICMR, they have a nationwide network of labs, which I will tell in the going ahead in the presentation. So you can just visit their website. You can see what kind of labs they have. Each and every CSIR or ICMR institute has a focus area. So you have to see what focus area is there available in your local area. Now, this is just an example of how an endodontics department can do interdepartmental collaboration. So we can collaborate with oral pathology. All of them have molecular immunohistology facilities available with them, PCR available with them. Or you can plan a research with the radiology department basis diagnosis like radiographic diagnosis like CBCT. Or we can plan with prosthodontics as we are all doing, both of us are doing indirect restorations. So we can collaborate for material testing or CAT CAM or any other indirect restoration technology and henceforth. So there's so many potential collaborative research topics that you can work on. Neighboring technical institutes, as I said, so do visit, see what are their focus areas. This will reduce the risk of ambiguity after you plan your protocol. So I would also advise that all of you should do a pilot study before you submit your protocols. There are very smaller nuances which you actually come to know when you run a pilot. Even if you do it for one sample, just run through the process that you're planning to put forth. It will tell you a lot of things, and that also helps you in saving a lot of cost because then you can plan smartly. The other kind of collaboration that we as academicians can do is with industry. Of course, I mean, all our materials and technology is coming from the industry side. They are the ones who are making the materials and they're making the technology. It's a very symbiotic relationship because industry also looks at validation. They want to give their materials for clinical and preclinical validation. And your one major cost, as we discussed initially, is the material cost. So, with the consent of your faculty, keeping them in the loop and marking them CC in the emails, you can write to a good manufacturing companies and you can ask them to give you materials for the research that you are looking at. But this comes with a very important thing in mind, that when you do take support from industry, you should declare it very clearly that your materials were sponsored. One group of material was sponsored by that company, and you have to be very sure that you do your research ethically. Just because, say, XY company has sponsored one group of material for me in my research does not mean that we have to show that material as superior. So it's very important that you do your sample assessment in an absolutely blinded manner. It is important that you declare your financial grant and support. You should not bias your research design also as per the manufacturer. If the company is asking you to do a particular research testing because they would know that their material will do fairly better in that thing, you do not have to let their interference come into the research design aspect. And also always keep in mind that whatever you may plan, always keep a 10% extra budget, because there will be some unplanned budgets, which is mostly in the direction of material. Because by the time you're planning it and by the time you actually do it on ground, your material costs may go up. So always keep a 10% to 15% extra budget when you're planning your budgetary. So that basically covers our A, B, and C. And D is basically small things that we can do in designing a study. As you know, dental research spans across a very wide spectrum. We can have different types of clinical design or in vitro design. So there are few studies which do not require some aspects of budgetary heavy domains, such as in vivo study design. So if you're doing a clinical research, you will not need to do the third heavy domain, that is the testing part. You will not need sample testing of any research facility. So that does reduce your research budget. So if you're working on a very tight budget, you can look for good randomized clinical trials. You can look for good in vivo study designs, and preferably you should take up in vivo designs of those topics which have already been tested in vitro in your own department by the previous students. So continuity of research always helps you. Continuity of research that has been done in your own department, and of course continuity of research that has been done locally in the country and nationally or internationally, because you always start off with a base data and you can then just build up on it. But if you do continuity of research in your own department, then that will also help you in planning your research better. So continuity basically means you can test different parameters of the same research direction. Say between two materials, your senior has already tested 2 or 3 properties. So you can take the same thing and you can test 2 more properties. So in that way, only these two and the previous two, you will complete a research question one, and then since your senior has already gone through that direction, he will be able to guide you financially even better of what resources to use and how to plan your research. The other, as I said, anything which has been done in vitro, if you have proven the property of the material in vitro, you can always take up the clinical aspect of it, which can reduce your cost. Or you can even do a longer follow up of an RCT that has been done previously in collaboration and consent of your guide. So overall, if you see, for financial help of your research, what you need to focus on is your readily available resources within and outside your institute, but preferably within your within your city. You leverage these research infrastructure which is available locally to you. Then, of course, there are a lot of scholarship funding and grants which we will be discussing going ahead. You can look at manufacturers or industry funding for these materials. Coming to the next aspect, that is, what are the kinds of funds or grants or extramural funding or intramural funding that can be available to a postgraduate student for his or her own research. The simplest or the first step of grant is an intramural research grant. Thankfully, a lot of institutes today give some amount of intramural research grant to their postgraduate students and their faculty. So when I say be aware locally, find out if your institute is giving any kind of intramural grant for student research, then you can, make use of that. Then there can be a lot of ongoing faculty grants. Your own faculty and your guides may have an extramural funding. Extramural grant. So that can be another way of getting a grant locally. And of course, if there is a scholarship funding scheme of your university, of your college, and there are some bodies which also give some scholarship funding. So the first grant that as a postgraduate you should find and leverage is, of course, the intramural grant which your university or your college may be giving for a postgraduate or undergraduate student. Then our national bodies, both IACDE and Indian Endodontic Society, opens a research grant specifically for students and also for faculty, which they open every year. And IAS gives a grant up to 2 lakh rupees depending on the number of people that are split amongst them. And IACD gives a grant of rupees 50,000 per grant. So this is a very good amount for a postgraduate thesis. So do not shy from applying to any of these grants. In fact, I feel that all postgraduate residents should apply because these are grants that are coming from your own bodies, from the conservative dentistry and endodontic bodies. And they are the best people to judge your research, and you should definitely apply for grant under these bodies as and when they open. Then there are some aligned international bodies as well, which open these grants, throughout the year. Keep in touch with your faculty, and you can apply for these grants along with your faculty in collaboration with them. And if selected, they also give a good amount of research support. There are other bodies like International Association for Dental Research. You should visit their page. They have a lot of scholarships and fellowship awards which open up at least 6 months before the conference is announced. Go through them throughout the year because this is one body internationally which is focused mainly on dental research. They are a very research heavy body. That's the whole purpose. And we have a very active Indian division of it, ISDR. So look up the different types of research awards and fellowships that are given by them. It is always based on a focus area or a domain. For example, this Lion Dental Research focuses on oral health research or periodontal research, and they have many such fellowships and grants under IADR head. Coming to the government support, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare under the Human Resource Development Scheme has a number of types of supports that they can give. In undergraduate, a lot of our undergraduate students are now actually applying for it, and this they do in second year and third year BDS, which is called short-term studentship. I think a lot of students across colleges in dental are applying for this grant, and this is basically a grant to orient them, and they take very small research questions along with faculty, and they get a small amount of grant, but that takes them through the entire grind or the cycle once. One very specific grant that is very useful for first year postgraduates is the MDS thesis support, in which they give you 50,000 rupees. Then they also have some national fellowship, short term, long term, which you can apply for while you're doing your postgraduate. So you can visit their site, HRD, and you can look for the other kinds of fellowship. But this ICMR thesis grant is specifically designed for postgraduate students who are doing MD, MS, MDS in medical field. And you can go to their website and they have a link there when it opens up. You have to fill a form and you have to submit it, and they usually get back to you within 2 or 3 months. They announce the list of selected candidates. A lot of our postgraduates, almost one postgraduate every year gets this grant, and 50,000 rupees is a good amount. They give you some amount upfront, and rest they give once you have published your research. Then, as I said, they also have some ICMR fellowship programs in which they give you a fellowship grant per month. And you can look up, and if it is in the domain that their domain and your domain of work coincides, then you can apply for these. They have some specific grants for SC, ST candidates, OBC candidates. So UGC, University Grants Commission, is another site that you can look for. They basically focus on funding students, so you can get some small, their funding amounts are usually small, but you can look for any scholarship funds that UGC may be putting out from time to time for undergraduates and postgraduates. Now, this is another very useful, I will not say grant, but this is kind of an ecosystem. BIRAC, or Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, is basically an offshoot of Department of Biotechnology, and their focus area is for conversion of technology. They have established e-Yuva centers all over India, which are basically colleges whom they have recognized and made their center, and they give them funding. And these centers, suppose if today Maulana Azad can apply and become an EUA center, or SRM or Manav Rachna can apply and become an EUA center, then once I receive the grant as Maulana Azad, I will be opening up innovation fellowships and EUA fellowships, which are for undergrad students and postgrad. So if you do apply for it and you get it, then the support that you get is you get access to all their infrastructural facility. They basically incubate you at their center. So you will be getting access to their facilities. You will get mentoring from them. And in some cases, you can also get some consumable support from them. So this is a useful thing. You can look at the EUA centers in your area. You can see what focus areas they are working on, and you can always apply for fellowships there. So we do have a lot of funds and grants, and these are just very superficial grants that I have covered. But broadly, you need to visit websites like ICMR, DBT, BIRAC. You have to visit IADR and your local bodies like IACD, IES. So do visit these websites and keep checking if they're opening up any scholarship and fellowship. And do not shy from applying for it. The worst will be that you will not get it, but if you don't apply, then definitely you're not getting anything. So take that chance and keep applying. I think this is the golden rule that we, tell our students and residents for everything, whether it's, an interview or whether it's applying for a grant or publication for that matter. Perseverance is really important. So these are the resources from which you can actually get some money and fund. But as we discussed initially, our other very heavy domain is when we need to pay for our testings. Because everything that we do in research, we need some kind of infrastructure or research facility. So there is also another kind of an entire ecosystem that government-led and bodies have actually established. I will just give you an overview of what kind of infrastructure setup we have. So government all over India has set up different testing labs, pre-incubation setup, which are larger, which are more expansive than testing labs itself. Now we have also identified and set up 5 to 6 centers of excellence. When we say center of excellence, basically they have one focus area, like in MedTech, we have 5 centers of excellence across India, which is in Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Guwahati, which covers different geographical areas of India, and they give them bulk of grant and they set up. I will show you some of the centers that we have. And then, of course, we have very larger medtech parks and all, which may not be very relevant at your level. What you need to focus is on what are the various types of testing labs that are present all over India. So CSIR, this is a network that is there for CSIR, ICMR, who have their network of labs all over India. The other scheme that institutes or your faculty can look at is the FIST program, which is under Ministry of Science and Technology, Department of Science and Technology. This grant is specifically for institutes for developing their research infrastructure. So I was on the board of FIST grant, and I was very happy to see that this time we did have about 4 or 5 dental colleges applying for it. 99% of these grants actually go to basic sciences subjects like physics, biology, chemistry. Somehow medical and dental are not very active for the scheme, but this is a very good scheme and they give you very clean money to just buy an equipment. So some equipment which you feel is very essential for research and is beyond the scope of an institute, because we have to run our clinics and courses. So we sometimes the institute cannot spend that kind of money on research infrastructure. It is exactly for that that the scheme has been made. So I would advise faculty also to look this up and apply, for these funds which can help you in strengthening. There are, of course, some very good institutes like Sri Chitra, which has been supported by DST, ICMR, and all. So they have a lot of facilities. You can visit their website. They will all be paid, but then any of these paid facility will have different categories. So you will have the least payment for either students or internal testing or those institutes with which you have an MOU. So that cost is always the least. Then there will be a non-MOU costing, and then there will be an industry costing, which will be the highest. So either you may have an existing MOU, or the institutes can drive MOUs with such centers so that their costing comes down. Or you can write to them that you're a postgraduate and you are looking at funding your research, so how they can support you. And everything is online now. You can just visit their website and book your appointment. These are the network of labs under CSIR. Similarly, ICMR has a network of centers and labs. As I said, each of them will have their own research focus area. So you have to look at that. You have to go to their website, and then you have to see what kind of facilities you can leverage on in their area. I was talking about the DHR centers of excellence. So these are the 5 or 6 centers of excellence that Government of India has identified across IITs. And these centers of excellence are basically for biomedical research. So recently, when I was in Chennai, we visited the IIT Chennai Center of Excellence, very well equipped center. So is IIT Delhi and so is IIT Mumbai. So you can visit their websites and you can see the facilities. And as I said, you can just book your appointments there. If you look across India, this is the kind of network that we have. These are all the BioNest centers. Then we have the ICMR DHR centers of excellence across different cities. The new recent ones are M Pragati at IIT Delhi and the one at IIT Chennai, which is HTIC. And then the advanced are the medtech hubs or like the AMTZ and all. So this is how the website of IIT Delhi M Pragati looks like, and these are the kind of facilities that they have. We all need these like UTM, profilometers, microhardness, microtensile. So they have a very well established physical and mechanical testing lab. They also have very good 3D printers and all. You have to just visit their website. You have to see which category you fall under, and you can do your research budget planning. You will know exactly how much you will need to pay for one sample, and accordingly, you decide the number of tests that you have to do. Many times, the problem is that we don't come to know what is available locally in your area, what facility is there. Suppose if I'm looking for a spectrophotometer, sometimes I don't know where to go for it. So there are 2 very good central forums on which you can just go and look for the facility. One of them is the BIRATS Facilities Network e-portal, which looks exactly like this. This is their front page. And then you can enter the facility that you're looking for, and it will tell you exactly what is available, where it is available, and it will also tell you what are the costings involved. So you can go and use BIRATS. The other very good, which I have mentioned previously also, is the ISTEM, or the Indian Science, Technology and Engineering Facilities Map. This is a Government of India PMO initiative, and they launched it in 2000. The main purpose of this facility is again that whatever is facilities available through government funding, be it any body, Ministry of Science, Ministry of Health, or Ministry of Technology, all of them, all of us have to register on the site that we have these facilities available, so that tomorrow if a researcher is looking for something, they can just enter the name of the equipment. You can also mention the city that you're looking at, more specifically the make and the model, and it will tell you where all you can. Suppose if I entered a spectrophotometer, then these are the areas where a spectrophotometer is available, and you will be able to see the details on the left hand side. As time is progressing, the site is getting stronger because more and more people are actually registering onto it, and more equipment is available at it. Of course, one of the dental specific centers that we have established at Maulana Azad, which is the Dental Technology Innovation Hub. In this, we are setting up facilities which are basically for dental testing. Anything which is more than that, we have MOU with the M Pragati at IIT Delhi, and we just refer to them. But specific dental procedures like chewing simulators or thermocycler or digital workflow, or these are things that we are setting up. So we will very soon have it up on our website, but you can always mail it to us if you want to use some facility, and there will be some user charges involved. And once that process is in place, then you can use that. You're more than welcome to use that facility as well. So if you see the whole circle, we have available resources. We need to plan locally. Collaboration is the key for any kind of success. Design and plan your study well. There are a lot of funds and grants that are available, but you just need to find them. That's why the topic of the presentation itself is find the funds. They are there. They're all there. You just need to find them. So is the case with research infrastructure as well. The problem is when we, as the researcher, we feel that the funds are very far. But if you actually look at from the resources side, government has set up all this infrastructure to give to the researchers. So basically, both of them feel that there is a distance and there is a difficulty to access the other. So what we need to do is we just need to take home a point. That is, you access the available resources, make alliances, apply for grants. Maximum you will not get it, but do not shy from applying. And you need to be very aware and active. And I'm sure that you can find the grants and the funds that you are looking for. Because if we do not plan a research, this is exactly what we feel like. And once we do find our financial planning and budget in place, then it's just, we can just focus on our research and have a Gangnam style. So thank you so much. I will be happy to take any questions. And of course, my deep gratitude to the organizing team and the commendations to you for doing it consistently. I think that's the key, that you're able to hold, a seminar and a workshop like this every year for first year postgraduates. Thank you so much.